In this video, I'm rewiring an entire boat from the ground up, and I'm doing it for under $1,000. With the help from real marine wiring pros, I'll walk you through every single step. From system planning to clean installs, it's all in here. And as a bonus, I'll show you how to build your own custom wiring harness. Whether you're restoring a boat or upgrading your electrical system, this guide will show you how to do it the right way. Now, when you're going to start your electrical work on your boat, yes, you can get stuff off of Amazon. I've done that before. Unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that you buy off Amazon is not really the best quality. It's not going to last you as long. I want this electrical system to last. I'm here at my favorite marine store, which is at Capitan. So what I've done is I made a checklist on my phone of all the stuff that I'm going to need. And I've come here to a Capitan, which is a real famous store here in Miami. Okay, so let's walk in there and let's get to shopping. Buenas. So let's see what we got first on the list. Got this guy over here. Switch panel. Nope, we got our Perco switch. On off switch, real simple switch. We got our terminal block. Go there. And then we also need one of these guys. This is for our negative bus bar. It's gonna go on there. Brake slider. So look at all this stuff. We got a ton of everything that you need for your electrical, so all types of switches, all of that stuff. Alright, we're gonna need some of those guys. So we got all the breakers here, and obviously, I mean, this is obviously a fishing store. You know, we got all the fishing rods here. Look at all these coolers, Yeti coolers. Let's keep going. Here we got some lights over here. We're gonna need an anchor light. Yeah, here we go. There we go. Works. This is all the hatches. This is only thing, $86. Can't beat that. Oh, and you guys know what's up with all the paint supplies. And you have FGCI. They stock all the FGCI stuff. Got all the structural putty, all the exterior gel coat, all the colors. They have all that stuff here for all your projects as well. This place is where I first started buying all my stuff. This is where I got all my my fiberglass stuff from before I even worked with FGCI. This is how I knew about them. Okay, batteries. I'm gonna pick up one of these batteries as well. I'm not gonna carry it around the store. So, I mean, look at all this. Look at all the stuff they got. All the fishing stuff. This is the fishing spot, the fishing supply store in all of Miami. This is it. Everything you could possibly think of. I'm gonna go pay for all this stuff. Let's get the electrical done on this boat. I'm here at Reliable Marine. They just finished installing my new motor, and since it's here, they're almost done. I took advantage, and I'm gonna start wiring the boat in here. And we got some help from the professionals today. These guys break stuff all the time. He's gonna kind of like guide me through just to make sure everything I'm doing. Give me some pointers so you guys can learn from that too. So I have all the supplies here. We got a lot of things that we're gonna wire up. I'm going to go through a price list of how much everything costs, and I'm going to give you guys a list so you know exactly what we're going to use for this project, and we're going to do this entire thing for right under $1,000, so you can do it on your own boat. Let's get started. All right, so when starting a project like this, and this is a clean canvas, so there's no wiring in this boat whatsoever. I was talking to Jose. Jose, you said that the first thing you should do is run your power, right?
Yeah, your main power for the boat. So you want to run like all your fuse block power. You want to run like your main power for your center console. You're gonna run it there, so that then you can start installing all your accessories. For example, we also have to run the big power, which is this right here, for your motor back there on those power studs that you got back there. Right. Once we run all of that, then we can start basing ourselves going off of the accessories, your bilge pumps, your automatics, everything like that. We can start running that afterwards.
I have a switch that I'm going to use. Is that something that you think about prior before wiring the boat?
Correct, yeah, because so let's say I'm gonna put that power switch in the console,
right?
But you have your motor, your power post in the back over there,
right?
What would I have to do? I would have to run a power cable from there all the way to the front.
Okay.
Because your battery switch is over there. Obviously, your motor's not supposed to have power all the time.
Right.
If I were to put that battery switch in the back, I still got to run a power cable from there to the battery, which is going to go here.
Right.
But then I would have to do a little small jump to the battery switch.
Got it.
So either or, you still got to run wire. But there's always easier ways to mount your battery switch.
Okay, cool.
The simplest way is people usually put it right here on a little center console. You run your power to there, and then all your accessories go straight to the back of that switch or to a fuse panel that you install on your boat. Awesome. Which we're going to power with this little cable right here.
That's a 8 gauge. 8 gauge?
Yeah,
okay,
it's
so that's
8
an 8
wire.
gauge. So I have a single battery switch, right? Just an on and off switch. It's nothing special because I'm only running one battery on this boat for now. Right, so it's going to be a real simple install, and we're going to mount the switch back there inside the on the transom. Yep. All right, cool. So I also decided to place the battery back here under the seat because I don't have much space under the console. I want to leave as much space in there as possible for storage, and I want it to be dry. So we're going to put the battery back up in here.
We do this.
So here's a little trick. We run a snake. You're going to tie them together.
And then you have a constant snake that'll never stop.
Boom. So now you got a constant snake. You just pull through.
It'll just keep going.
It keeps going. And you just hook up a wire to that and you're done.
Correct.
Perfect. All right, so like Jose said, now we're gonna run the ground and the power cables that come off the battery that go to the console to power our fuse block. And that's the smaller cable. It's 8 gauge, right?
Yeah, 8 gauge.
Yeah, that's
You're not gonna have any heavy stuff on the boat.
Yeah.
So this is plenty full for what you're gonna have on the boat.
I'm gonna put a chart up here so you guys can see, depending on what load you're gonna run, is dependent on the type of wire that you're gonna run. So we're not gonna run any heavy loads on this thing. So we're not running much. We're gonna be running under 30 amps total. So 8 gauges is just enough.
There it is.
So I'm gonna leave a good amount here. So when I run my fuse block, I can put it towards the back there of the console. So we left enough space. It's about 2.5, 3 feet. So we have the battery here. This is the starter battery, and that's all I'm going to run on this boat for right now. The power cables go from there, and they come out here, right? And these are going to run towards that battery.
Yeah, so as you're going, you kneading it up, then you gotta cut it, re-kneading it up. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you gotta run all these things together so that you're always doing a nice clean job.
Yeah. So those wires that are coming from the console, we're gonna run here. That goes straight
This
to the
black
battery,
one
right?
is gonna stay right here.
Yeah.
So it's gonna stay a little long, which is fine. We can cut it later. But this red
power
one
is
has
gonna
to
go
all the way
switch.
to the front over there.
So this is the wire that's gonna go to the actual switch, and then we got this wire that's just an extension of the battery cables. The battery cables, I put them there nice and neat. Negative, positive, and we're gonna connect those to there just to make everything look nice and neat. These technically could go straight to the battery, but we're gonna make that neat like that.
Yeah.
Cut the wires. Putting in the battery switch. This is an on-off Perco switch. We're putting it back here, right on the transom. Now we're gonna run a short wire right off the switch because this is this is what shoots power to the fuse block, and it's gonna go. Yeah, it's gonna go just like that to that breaker, which is gonna protect that wire that goes all the way to the console. Yeah, right to the fuse block. So you want this as close to that switch as possible. So we're gonna put it just like that up in the transom. So let's do that.
Yep.
Now we got the breaker set up here. This is the wire that goes. That's the wire that goes to the power at the helm, so our fuse block. And this wire here goes to the actual switch, which we're going to loop around. The switch is going to go up here. So that'll go connected there, and then this will go to the breaker.
All right. See, this is a little better now.
Yeah, wire looks much better.
So then this guy's gonna come around, wrap around. Look how pretty, go like that.
Sweet.
And then we gotta make this little red guy go right here.
All right, so Dave's going to show us how to properly crimp a battery cable, or any cable really that's going to take a lug nut, right? So you need some sharp scissors, right, or some sharp cutters. How much are you exposing, Dave? Like, how much do you need to take out?
I would say about 1/2 inch.
Right.
Enough to go all the way in. And then
That's your lug nut. And then this is a
there's a crimper. Yes, hydraulic crimper tool.
And these have little dies, right? So to match the size
Yeah,
of
match
the
the size. Like right now, we're using 2 gauge
Okay.
all the way.
Right, so you can't no more.
Yep.
It should look
voila.
just like that.
Nice and tight.
Yeah.
See how tight that is?
Now
All the way around.
you want to cover that with like a heat shrink to
Yeah. Now we
right?
got a heat shrink, we cover that, and
And we give some heat. Yep.
voila, all the way around.
When you put that heat shrink, how far should you go forward, Dave?
Pretty much, it's a good, so you can have enough space so you can clear the nut that goes on there.
Yeah, so that
Okay.
See? So make sure you're nice and hot so the epoxy melts.
That's got a glue in it. Is that what
Yeah,
it does?
see the glue coming out right
Yeah.
there? See the glue?
Yeah.
Little epoxy. So you do it, baby.
These are ready to go.
I usually like to put what we just did, and then the motor one on the top too. Sure, it's nice and tight.
All that stuff.
You have
On every Perco battery switch, you're gonna see on the back of it, it says 1 or 2 if it's a 2-switch Perco. In your case, you have a one battery Perco. So it says 1. That one battery is gonna go to where it says 1, and then your motor or all your accessories will go to common.
got it.
Right? And then when you turn it on, the power from going from 1 gets switched on to common, and that's how your hobo gets power. So if you have a Perco with 2, you're gonna go battery 1 is gonna go in battery 1, battery 2 is gonna go in battery 2. It says it in the back, and then all your accessories still go to common.
Right. So then, the common is where that goes to the breaker, and then the breaker to the power to the fuse block.
Correct.
Got it.
Mundo.
All right. Look how neat that looks. So we got the switch. We have power from the actual motor, the engine, which goes to here. This one goes to the battery. Then we have the wire that comes out of the switch when you turn on. That comes to the breaker. And this wire here runs to the helm, which is this wire over here. Which we're going to connect that to our fuse block. Alright, so we're getting ready to hook up our nav light. I've already run my duplex wire. This is 14 gauge. Okay, you're going to need a couple tools. You're going to need a wire stripper like this one. You're going to need a crimper. This is a type of crimper you can use. You need a heat gun, or in this case I have a torch. Alright, now you're going to need some wire connectors like these guys, and some heat shrink connectors like this one. Alright, so I've already cut back the sleeve. Now I'm going to strip this wire. This is real simple. Put that in your stripper. This does a great job of stripping those wires. These are LED lights. And these are the wires that come down. So we got to connect these two here. You don't want to be, using wing nuts or anything like that. This is a boat with salt water. You want to be able to seal this from the elements. With this guy. This is our heat shrink. This is extra protection. Go through there. The black one. Go through there. And this is how we're going to do all our connections on the entire boat. Now let's go ahead and connect black to black. Nice and tight. Red to red. Okay. See, this has a little notch. So now we got to give this some heat. You want to move this around. You don't want it right on. You don't want to burn through it. Just keep on moving it. And you'll see it start to melt. Now we're going to move our heat shrinks over the connection. You'll know that you did a good job when the liquid or when the glue comes out of the back like this. We're going to leave that there for now. You got to drill holes and I got to run wires. So I'm going to leave that just like that. Alright, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4 duplex wires that I have all lined up here, and I cut them all the same length, and I'm going to run this one time from the back here to up here, because I have a couple things that I'm going to put back here. the bilge, in the future some lights, maybe a wash down in the future. So I'm gonna preemptively put these wires here and just keep them here for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and try to run these through with my snake. One thing that I did do is I marked each wire and the opposite end, so I know what's what. So now that we have our wires run, I have my nav lights that I actually forgot to run, so I ran that in separate. So this is my nav light over here. I marked that as nav light. So now that I got all my stuff marked, now I'm gonna start connecting my appliances. My first appliance I'm mounting is gonna be this anchor light. So this comes in two pieces. You have this little base, and then you have the tube, and you stow this away in a compartment or something. You don't really run with this while during the daytime. So let's go ahead and put some screws in there. All right, so that's mounted. You do want to put some caulking, or you do want to put some marine seal in here. I'm not going to do that only because I'm going to paint this boat. As you can see, I have it all ready to fare and stuff like that. So I'm just doing this for the video. But yeah, you would want to put some marine sealant around there. So as you look in there, you can see there's a little notch. A notch will fit in there. And it'll click in, and then you just tighten this down. And now you have your anchor light. And that's good. All right, let's wire this up. All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my wire that says number 1. All right, I'm going to use that for the anchor light. All right, just because it's the first one I grabbed. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it and start kind of like not zip tying it, but putting it just like the other wires are ran, so I get the right amount of wire. All right, and we always want a little bit extra. So let me start doing that. And I'm also going to label that. All right, so we got the wires coming off of the base here. Okay. And then what I did was I ran my wires and I got the right length, but I'm going to give myself extra because we always want to have some extra. So here are the wires. This is a 14 gauge. These are 14 gauge wires, and I got my wire strippers. Real easy. You could also use a tool like this. It's just a little bit harder. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do these first. So put that in there. So I'm going to slide one of these guys in here too. Okay, little heat shrink. I'm going to slide this one in here already too. And then let's slide this other one. Okay, and you want to give these a tug, make sure they don't come off. So you got black round, black with black, and that gray counts as your power. So let's go ahead and put that in there. I like to twist these just to get it nice and streamlined. There's other types of crimpers too. I don't have the other ones with me that are a little bit better. They click. And they do it perfect every time. I'm going to put them up on the screen so you can see, but this is the crimper that I have. As you can see, it's got just enough space for you to crimp. Alright, so let's move these heat shrinks back. And let's give it some heat. This is my heat gun. Alright, so that's nice and shrunk. You'll see the glue coming out the ends. Okay, now all we're going to do is grab our little heat shrink, our little cover. Since this isn't the bilge, it's a lot of humidity in there, so I put some extra covering on there. So let's go ahead and hit these up. I'll tell you what, these heat shrink connectors, they're not like your Amazon ones. These are from like Capitan, and these are awesome, man. They're heavy duty, just feel completely different. So very, very good. So let's get those heat shrinks. There you go. And that's how all your connections should look, just like this, nice and even. There's no holes. This is going to ensure that your electrical system stays working for a long time. I'm not going to tighten this down until we're actually complete, just so I can run and scoop my wires here and there. So I'm just going to leave it just like this for now. All right, so that's one down. Let's go to the bilge. So here's a little trick just to make your wires a little bit more manageable. Just twist these together so they're not hanging, and that helps a lot. So I'm gonna, before I put this or I shoot this through there, I'm gonna do my connections here. All right, now I'm gonna grab my second line, which is number 2. Number 2 is gonna be the bilge. So I ran my wire here. I have a little bit extra. See, this is gonna go down like this, right off of here, and connect to our bilge wires, which are down here. Okay, so now I'm gonna connect these just like we did the anchor lights. We're gonna worry about wire management once we're done and we're sure that everything works, so we can connect everything and then put everything in its place. That'll be last. I also went ahead and put in the battery box. Unfortunately, the top doesn't fit, but that's all right. I got the tray there, so that's gonna help just keep it in place. I tied that down to the floor with these braces here. So we're gonna connect the battery once everything is complete. Alrighty, so this is my next step in the process of doing the electrical system. What you're seeing here is a fuse block. Okay, that's something that's going to come in later. This is a marine terminal block, and this is a bus bar, standard 6 circuit with a negative bus on it. This is a terminal block, okay, with a 30 amp rating. We don't need much more than that. And then this is just a regular bus bar. This is going to be for the negatives. This is going to be for all the power that's coming in. So all of these wires that I have here are all those wires that say 1, 2, 3, right? So we got our anchor light, we have our nav lights, and we have our bilge, right? So all those wires, okay, they're going to come in real nice and organized to one of these guys. Let's say we do the bilge pump here. There'll be bilge pump wire here, and then this will go to the switch. You can go straight from here to the switch, but I want to keep this organized. So I want to come here first, then to the switch. That's how I'm going to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You can do it the other way, but I'm going to keep it nice and organized. I want to make a harness that's going to come off the switches, that's going to come to here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is a little overkill. There's 10 slots here, but in case I ever want to add some more, I can. Basically what I'm going to do is, off of this switch panel, I'm going to run all my wires that come to each individual appliance. So horn, bilge pump, navigation light and anchor light, courtesy lights. All of those things are going to come here and be labeled nice and neat. On the other side, I'm going to have all of the wires that come in from the appliances meeting up at this bus bar, and they're going to be nice and labeled. So it'll be, you know, horn, bilge pump, navigation anchor light, and so on and so forth. Now this is the fuse block. I have to run power to this, but I'm going to run power to that a little bit later. And again, this is the negative bus bar, so all the negatives are going to come to here. All right, so first things first, we have to rearrange the switches, because I know that my first switch is going to be my horn, and my second switch is going to be my navigation anchor light. So the way that these switches come is that they're regular on-off switch, but for our navigation anchor light, we need a navigation up and an anchor light down. When we hit up on navigation, our anchor light and our navigation lights are going to turn on. Then when we're at anchor, we can just switch down, and that's going to turn the anchor light on. So that is going to have to go in here. And if you notice, there's a bunch of different little switches here compared to here. So if you look at the back of this panel, you have a few things going on. These here are your fuses. Okay, these are your switches. So if you notice, these fuses have different ratings. So you have 20 amp, 15 amp, 10 amp, 10 amp, 10 amp, 6 amp. Okay. This might be a lot of overkill for like the courtesy lights and things like that, but for like the bilge pump, you're going to want your 20 amp fuse. We're gonna have to move these around depending on where we want our switches. So, and these you can move around. All right, so I'm gonna rearrange these fuses, and it's real simple. It has a little cap like this, which screws on to the actual fuse. You pop it out just like this. So we're gonna switch this over here. This 20 amp, I'm gonna bring that 20 amp over here for the bilge pump. Now, how do I know what fuse to put? Well, the bilge pump, depending on what model it is and how big it is, it's going to tell you exactly the amperage of fuse that it needs. Usually about 15 amps, right? They also sell these fuses separate, so if you needed something specific, you could always get a specific style fuse. So we're going to go ahead and plug this back in how it was. Goes there. And then this guy goes up there. And now we got to put in our switch, our 3-position switch, on, off, on switch, which is going to go in here. There you go. Now that's seamless. So if you look at the diagram that I'm putting up on the screen, you'll have this position here, which is number 2. This is where the power jumps to the fuse. This position, which is number 6, I have to make a jumper from here to over here, because that's going to allow the light to work, the anchor light to work with the navigation light, and then the anchor light by itself. I'm going to make a jumper that goes from position 6 to position 1. So I've measured out my jumper right around here, and I've stripped the ends using my wire stripper. This is a female connector, heat shrink connector, and this has the connector that slips right into these butt connectors there. And there you go. So before, you want to give it a tug, make sure it doesn't come off, and then you want to try to like test fit it first. So let's put that guy in there, and there we go. That's it. And then we would have to heat shrink it. So I'll do that last, or you can do it now. It's up to you. Now we have a jumper that goes from here to here, but we need to make a jumper that goes from position 5 to position 2 to allow this particular switch to work. So we're going to have to make a jump from here and then connect this. I'll show you guys. I'd rather show you. So I'm going to take this off for now, just to get some space. So I've made 2 jumper wires here, and the reason is because this jumper wire that comes from here, from the fuse to position number 2, has to make a jump from here to here. So we're gonna have to combine. This is just for this particular switch, so let's push that off to the side. I'm using, for this particular connection, a bigger 12 to 10 gauge connector, female connector, because it's 2 wires combined. So this connector will fit both wires, both cables in there. And then, like we said, this last one here is gonna jump. So you should have something like this. Okay. So this is how it's gonna go. We're gonna go to the fuse. Okay. To position number 2. Okay, and then this is gonna be the jump that goes right next door. And then we have to heat shrink all that. We have to apply some heat to get that to stay, but that's essentially what you're doing. We need a jumper that goes from this position number 6, to position number 1. But this is also going to connect, the connection that comes to here is going to be also the wire that goes to our anchor light or our navigation light, whichever you choose. So that jumper goes like this. All right, so we're gonna wait. We're gonna put this off to the side, because once we're ready to do our wiring, we'll have to connect it there as well. We're gonna start attaching everything that connects to here, to this bus bar here. Okay, so you're gonna need these female connectors, right? We're gonna use our 16 gauge wire. We're gonna connect that together. We're gonna heat shrink it, and we're gonna run it to here. Okay, we're gonna slide this up, just like that. And then I'm gonna take my marker, and since we're doing the horn, we're gonna mark this as horn. But this is just so we can identify the wires as they're coming off of here. Make it easier. We'll heat shrink that. All right. That is going to go here. All right, so I got my horn, I got my bilge, I have my nav light that goes down here to the bottom of the switch. Now we still have to do this one, but we have to piggyback from position number 6, from position number 6 to position number 1. But these two have, so it's going to have to be like this. So we hook these up together. So we have these two together, and then we have to make the jump over here. So now we still have the courtesy lights, and you have these two accessories. Okay, so we're going to organize all this in a second. I'm going to have it all run to one side. I'll explain how I'm going to do that now. All right, and this is what you have. You have 6 switches, but you have 7 wires because you have the 2 going from the anchor light and navigation going to that one switch. So that's what you have, okay? This is how it should look. All right, so all of that has been heat shrunk. We have our wires coming out of here, all right? So now we got to organize this stuff. I'm going to label each one of these on the opposite ends so I know what wire is what. So let me do that. Yeah, I marked them all. Now we got to do some cable management. We're going to start with this first one, and we want it to come up right around there. I'm going to try to make this as professional as possible. Like these guys, I don't know how they do it. It's like an art form. These are zip ties, tie wraps, cable ties, whatever you want to call them. Now, mind you, I've never done cable management like this before. This is my first time. I'm going by what I think is right. I'm sure you guys know how to do it better, but I have never done this before. All right, look at that. And that's what we got so far. Nice and organized. You see the names on there. So now we're gonna run our power and ground from here. And we're gonna make the harness with that too. So let's go ahead and connect that. I have my connectors here. Let's get this connected to here. I'm trying to see what the best way. All right, so this is what we have so far. I think this looks pretty good. Looks kind of professional, I think. Organize all the wires. And now I have my other end that I gotta connect to, this. So now I did measure all this to make sure that it's gonna fit. So the way this will be, this will sit up in the front of the console. This is in, or really towards the aft part of the console, and this is more towards the bow. So it'll sit like this. So it'll come. The wires will come this way. All right. So I'm gonna put it just like this. I think maybe we should start with the lowest one. So let's find accessory number 2. And maybe place that. We should start with the first one, which is the horn. All right, that's the horn there. Just gonna go straight down and come over. Okay, so let's cut that off. We're gonna have to connect this wire to this bus bar. And the way you do that is you take this little screw out, and then we have to connect that using a ring terminal like this, or like this. This is 14 to 16. This is really the one that you want to be using. So let's go ahead and give that some heat. Now we got all these to go. So let's go ahead and do the bilge and get all that going. Okay. All right, so that's what we have so far. Not too bad, I don't think. It's not like the ones you see online. But for the first time, I think it did okay. It looks pretty neat. I might have to adjust this sideways. So let me get to work. All right, so yeah, I turned this sideways. I think that's gonna be much easier just for things to flow since everything's gonna come out of here. Now I can run my positive here, and I can run my negative straight to here like this. And same thing with the power that's gonna come from the actual battery. All right, so I put some ring terminals on here. These are a little bit bigger than the ones that go on here, just to get a better surface contact. So we're gonna put that positive here And then I measured out so we can put our negative right up in here. The cable ties, zip ties, tie wraps, whatever the hell you want to call them. So yeah, we have our full kit, our harness complete. I think it came out pretty good. For the first time ever trying to attempt something like this, I think it came out really good. Now I can just go into the boat and basically install this in one piece and be done. I'm really happy with how it came out. The electrical system is a super important part of a boat system. You don't want to catch fire, you know, and you want to be able to troubleshoot things when things inevitably go wrong on a boat, because they will. Another thing is, why would I have a fuse block? Well, and why not just use this? You could just use this. This is just for organizing, just to make it look prettier. And then the fuse is already built into the switch. But I'm gonna have things like a radio, a GPS, because they're gonna require their own fuses. And I wanted it to be clean, so that's why I got another fuse block. All right, so we're back on the skiff and we have a harness made with our switches, and it's ready to be installed on the boat. If we come back here to the console, remember we already ran the wires, the both positive and negative, that come from all the appliances that have to connect here at this position. And then we also have our power wires that come from the breaker, which is these guys here. All right, this is what's actually going to connect to our harness right here. See, like this, just like that, positive, negative. I'm going to place our harness inside. We have our panel attached, and now we have these wires, right? So we got to organize all these wires. And the way I'm going to do that with these guys. So these are little sticky, I don't even know what you call these, but these are for the zip ties. You can stick them onto the walls, and then you can run a zip tie through them, and that'll hold your cables and your wires. So as you can see here, you can see the black little bases, and now I'm going to zip tie the harness to those bases so we can organize it. All right, so there you have the gist of it. I am not going to put in the harness yet, this part, because the way that I did my panel here, that Limitless Marine Customs did my panel, is they already cut it out for me. You see, now I have to go in there and really drill out and match up the console, so the switches can go in. But I'm going to save this for last, so I'm going to do that last. And plus, I don't want any fiberglass or anything on the floor while I'm working down there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab the positive and negative wire that come off the battery, and then the breaker. Okay, so that breaker over there, you have the switch. Off of the switch, you have that 6-gauge red wire. Okay, that goes to the breaker. From the breaker, this is that wire, and then here we have a ground that's coming off of the battery. Okay, now we have to connect this to the fuse block that's inside the console. So I'm gonna put it on that fuse block, positive and negative. We gotta run it all through here. So let's go ahead and measure out. We've got our power cables. We ran those through here. We've zip tied them to the harness up there, and we've ran them nice and neat. And now what I did was I left these open like this, so the rest of the wires I run through, we could just tie them up at the end. All right, and that goes there. So we got plenty of cable. All right, so I'm going to organize this a little bit, and then we'll start running the other wires. All right, so the first lines we're going to run are the anchor lines, the anchor light, and the nav lights, right? So I have my positive and my negative from my anchor line that comes from the actual appliance. Okay, and what I've done is I've cut back the sheathing of the duplex sheathing right before I get to the bus bar. I'll show you guys now in a second, so that way I have full protection up until it gets to the top, up until it gets to the bus bar. So I'm going to start running these two. This sucks when you don't have much space. Right, so that's the idea. I ran my anchor light, the wire that comes from my anchor light, I ran that here, and I ran it to where the harness goes to. And then I've also got the ground that comes from that anchor light, and I've connected it here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the rest of these wires that come from all the accessories, and then we'll organize everything. As you can see, I connected the power cable and the ground that comes from the battery. I connected those with some heat shrink. I used my hydraulic press like you guys saw earlier. And now I got all that set up, squared away. Before I continue, I'm gonna run a ground from here over here to this bus bar, because we need ground for the rest of the appliances that are coming up through here. So all the cables from the navigation light, the anchor light, the bilge, those ground wires that come in through here on the duplex, they have to be connected to ground, and that's where we're going to get the ground from, is from here. I made myself that 6 gauge or 6-aught cable that's going to go from here to here, from the fuse block to here. So let's rub some zip ties and get that nice and organized. And that's what we got. So now we got a ground coming here. Now all of these appliances can get ground. We got the bilge set up, the bilge wired up. We have the anchor light wired up. Let's go on to the next one. All right, so we're not done yet. We have mostly everything wired, but you can see that we're pretty much done. I also ran the horn over here. And now we're gonna check to see if everything works before I take any of these plugs out and put them back in here before I do that. So we got our horn. Horn works. Our bilge pump. Not working. Now we're gonna put our running lights on. So that running light is on, and these running lights are on. If we just want to run the anchor light when we're at anchor, we just push this one down, keeps that on, and then these lights turn off. That's pretty much it. So I'll get back to you now once everything's cleaned up and we get this thing looking tight. I'm getting ready to install my courtesy lights that are going to go underneath the gunnels. And these lights were given to me by a Capitan. And immediately, these are RGB lights. So I'm able to change the color, which is pretty cool. You know, at all the colors of the spectrum, including white. So basically what you have is they come up both sides like this, so you can connect them, right, and run them like daisy chain. And they also come, so I have 2 of them. This one's a 20-inch one, and then it comes with this control module, which almost looks like a little light, to be honest. And this would go somewhere in the middle where all of these plugs come in. Right, connect them all here, and then this goes to your switch. So I already have some wires ran through that I'm going to use for that. So this should be fairly easy. I'm just looking for a place to install it through Bluetooth connection and an app on your phone. I'm going to put it up here in the screen so you can see. You can control the dim and the lights on the boat, which I'm pretty excited for. Now these seem very good quality. Big difference compared to the Amazon ones. Well, number one, they have the 3M backing, the sticky backing, and they just feel so much better than the Amazon ones. They're just a lot sturdier. They're semi-flexible. You can tell these are going to last a good amount, and they're almost about the same price for something like this. So let's go ahead and get these installed. Right, so what I've done is I taped off each individual wire with heat shrink, and then I put heat shrink over the whole thing to block this off, because everything's going to come from back here. So my general idea of where I'm going to put it is right around here. I'm going to run my wires, and we're going to run 2 sets of duplex wires, one red and black for ground and positive, and then the blue and the green that's going to be for the changing of the lights. I'm going to connect our LED lights, so we have to do positive and negative, and then we also got to run another duplex for the blue and green. So let's go ahead and do that.
Alright, so that's what we got. We got our 2 wires heading back towards the rigging tube. So we're going to leave this just like this. I'm going to run these 2 wires back. Alright, to install my lights, I'm going to install the module. I'm going to install it here in the center. Have the wires that come off of the port side and starboard side connected to here. And then this will connect to the wire that goes to the switch, through the rigging tube, all the way to the hub. Alright, so we connected the courtesy light that goes to the switch and the ground. I'm going to go ahead and put these switches in here. Now, if you don't have one of these, you know, dashes like this, you can always just mount this up somewhere like that. But I'm going to go ahead and mount these up in here so they'll be nice and flush. All I got to do is disconnect each one, and that's basically it. So should be fairly easy. And a big shout out to Limitless Marine Customs for this beautiful panel that they made me. I'm putting the link in the description for this panel. It's a very affordable panel and it's custom. They did the Suzuki engraving for me. They did all my little engravings here for all my navigation lights, my bilge pump, my courtesy lights. Everything done custom the way I wanted it, for the exact radio that I want, for the exact Suzuki gauge that I needed, and for the exact helm that I needed, and for these Suzuki controls as well. Everything was made custom for my needs. So big shout out to Andy over at Limitless Marine Customs. We got the switches and the fuses put in. Now we have to attach the rest of the harness. Alright, I got my courtesy lights set up. You can see up there. Now I gotta adjust them, I gotta pair them. But I got all my wires down here. That's all the wires that go to the courtesy light. We're installing a really easy 2-speaker and a head unit kit for the skiff. We have an audio pipe marine head unit, and we have 2 kicker 6-inch speakers. Eventually I might add a subwoofer and 2 more speakers or something, but we have our head unit from Audio Pipe, and this guy fits right in there. That guy fits in there, and then this shroud goes over and completely covers it. Funny because this guy looks like the dude from Spaceballs. I love that movie. Right, so seems like a pretty easy install. This also comes with a harness, so you can connect your all your wires to here. It's gonna be a real simple install because we don't have that many wires to install. So I think the first thing I'm gonna do is try to get this head unit put in. At least just place like this. I'll tighten it up towards the end and start getting that harness going. What I did is I ran my 14 gauge wire and I connected it up here to this fuse block, and I have a 15 amp fuse here. That's what it takes, and I connected the ground to there. Now I'm gonna have it run this way up in there. So let's go ahead and connect our harness. What I've done here is I've done the battery wire, the yellow, and the switched power together to power, because you could put this on a separate switch, but I didn't. What I did is I just put it together because it has an on-off switch here on the unit, so you can turn it off and on and it won't drain your battery. So this is connected, and then we're going to connect this to the head unit and turn it off, turn it on and make sure that that it works. So let's go ahead and try that. Let's go ahead and try to turn this on. There it goes. USB, that's a USB connection back there. You have an aux cable as well, but we're going to be using Bluetooth, and I don't think anybody listens to AM or FM anymore, so there you go. And then we'll go ahead and organize all this after. We got our radio already connected, everything's working, so now I'm going to connect the speakers to the unit up here. We're using the Kicker 6-inch speakers, or 6.5-inch speakers. They come with both faces, the black and the white. I'm going to use the white for this job. Use this guy here. So I'll take these out. I'm going to start connecting. These also have LED capability. I'm not sure if I'm going to connect them. I probably will. I gotta figure out how it is that I do that. So here you have the power, And then here are the for the LEDs. The kit comes with these connectors, and it comes with this cool little feature, so you keep both speaker wires apart from each other where the connection is. So I'll be using that. So it'll look something like this. I got my wire from my speaker over here. I'm going to connect it to rear right. I'm going to go to rear left plus and rear left negative. So it'll be these two, because it's on the left side or the port side, so we'll go to those two, and then the right will go to the purple, which are these. So there it is. As you can see, you have the positive rear left going to the positive and the rear negative going to the negative. I'm going to connect this and see if it works, just to make sure, just before I heat shrink this. So let's check it out. I'm not going to do the LED lights because I need a controller for that, and I don't have that, so that's already connected. We got the port side done. Now we got to do the starboard side. So for $1,000 you can wire your own boat, and for a little bit more than $1,000 you can even add in a stereo like I did here. So a big shout out to Capitan. If you want to know all the supplies that I used for this project, I have a link in the description below to Capitan's website where all of the materials that I used, everything is on there, so you don't have to search. It's all right there for you. They ship all over the United States, and everything that they use is quality. I've done a boat with Amazon products and I've done a boat with good products, and the difference is night and day. So if you guys like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.